Today, we're giving you 5 thrill ride rules that will completely change the way you experience Disneyland. Follow these, and I know you'll get on more rides, have more fun, and leave feeling like a Disneyland pro.
You're listening to Castle Talk Radio. We're live on the airwaves with Becca and Jessica. Now let's jump into this week's episode.
Jessica has been doing Disneyland strategy research for 13 years. Add that to my 14 years of covering theme parks, and that's a lot of strategies. We know exactly what works and what doesn't work when it comes to getting on as many rides as possible. And today we're focusing on getting on those thrill rides.
We come to Disneyland to test new strategies and repeat tried and true methods to make sure the advice that we share makes your day smoother and more thrilling. Now, by the end of this episode, you'll have a clear action plan to ride all the biggest thrill rides at Disneyland Resort. So let's start with those rules.
Rule number 1, start strong with early entry or rope drop. The biggest mistake most people make, and I think you agree, is showing up late. If you want to ride Space Mountain, Indiana Jones, Matterhorn before lunch, you have to take advantage of early entry if you're on site or rope drop if you're staying at a hotel off site. We see it over and over again how this one move sets you up for success for your entire day. If you're looking for specific tips for early entry, we have 2 episodes we did back in June of 2024 that cover each park that you can listen to as well.
Rule number 2, Rise of the Resistance plays by its own rules. Now, since Star Wars Rise of the Resistance plays by its own rules, you need to know what those rules are. 1, it's not a ride we recommend you rope drop. Now, Becca and I have discussed this a lot before. And we say don't rope drop this ride because it's often not open on time. And because it's so far away from everything else, you'll waste us precious low wait times trekking all the way back to that area of the park. And 2, the ride goes down a lot. Now, often it goes down because of things like dropped cell phones or Mickey ears along the track somewhere. And when that ride has to restart, it takes a long time. So if you're in line when the ride goes down, chances are your wait time is going to be a lot longer. Number 3, within this subset of rules, as of this recording, it does not have single rider or lightning lane multipass. Now it does offer lightning lane single pass, which is an additional fee per person to ride it one time. Okay, so you can do a standby line, like no problem, anytime you want. But if the wait is more than 40 minutes and you have the money in your budget for an extra $25 or so per person, I'm going to say spend it. I actually did it myself last time. Now, last within this subset of rules, do not rush to the ride if the wait time is low, unless you are already in Galaxy's Edge or Bayou Country. So if you're looking on the app and you're like, it's 15 minutes, let's get there, and you are in Tomorrowland or you are in California Adventure, don't try to book it over there because everyone else is doing the same thing and the wait time is likely going to double by the time you get there. So my best tip for Rise of the Resistance is you just have to play by its rules. And if you can, pay that extra money to ride or ride if it's 40 minutes or less.
Yeah, I'm going to add to that. A lot of people have found success going about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. Now, it sometimes closes earlier, so you have to really watch that on the app. It will say the closing time. But they go about half an hour before closing, and a lot of times find that the wait is shorter too. So that's an extra tip for that ride. Okay, so let's go to rule number 3. And this one is specifically for those that are going with teens, tweens, and other adults. Single rider is your best friend. If you want to skip a 90-minute wait for Radiator Springs Racers, but you don't want to pay for its individual lightning lane, single rider is your secret weapon. So if everyone in your party doesn't mind riding separate and is 7 years or older, because that's the age you have to be to ride by yourself, this is the way to ride Radiator Springs Racers with less weight. So a lot of times Radiator Springs Racers is around a 90-minute wait. And then when it's a busy day, it can be even more. But you can usually ride within 15 to 30 minutes when you do single rider. Now, you have to remember single rider, it goes by its name. While, yeah, you may end up in the same car as another person in your party, you're not guaranteed that. You are saying, I don't mind splitting up. So there's no telling them we have two people. It has to be one single person. And then, like I said, if you want to all ride together, your best bet is to purchase that individual lightning lane for that extra cost if you can afford it. We also recommend single rider for these rides when you're not using lightning lane, these rides I'm going to list, or if you want to ride it multiple times. So at California Adventure Park, Goofy's Sky School has a single rider. Grizzly River Run has single rider. Incredicoaster has single rider, but I will say that one does get quite long a lot of times. Soarin' Around the World will sometimes offer single rider, so you have to check if they're offering it. And then my favorite one to use this on is Web Slingers, because it cuts that to basically a walk-on when you go on Web Slingers with it. Now, over at Disneyland Park, you have some of your best thrill rides, Matterhorn bobsleds, and then Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run, and Space Mountain. And I don't know if they're still doing it, but Smuggler's Run used to also have a two-person. Like they'd let you put two people. So it's like a doubles line. They'd let you one or two people go to it. So I do want to mention really quick that also Toy Story Midway Mania offers a buddy pass, which is one or two people so that they can fill up the cars. And so does Monsters, Inc. So those are both over in California Adventure as well. So be sure to check the current single rider offerings on the Disneyland app, as those are subject to change, but those are typically the rides you can find.
Love that. Okay, rule number 4, maximize your lightning lane multipass. Again, because I love sub rules, this one comes with some sub rules. First, you're going to pre-purchase your lightning lane multipass with your discount tickets from Getaway Today. You're going to get your discount savings over Disneyland prices, and you're going to lock in your lightning lane multipass price, so it's not subject to demand pricing on the day of. So you can purchase your tickets at getawaytoday.com/castletalk. And second, you're going to rope drop, because we already covered that in rule number 1 at the beginning of the episode. Now, in the first couple hours you're at the parks, you are not using lightning lanes. That's one of the ways you're maximizing lightning lanes, is by not using it, because you are riding rides with low wait times. And that will give you the opportunity to re-ride these thrill rides again later with lightning lane multipass when the lines have actually built up wait times, so that it's actually worth using that multipass. So third, during those couple morning hours, you are constantly monitoring the Disneyland app, looking for lightning lane attractions that are labeled temporarily unavailable. I mean, look on the Disneyland app right now and you might even find one. It just says it right underneath the attraction. And you are going to book those lightning lanes if it's available to book. The hope is that the attraction will not reopen for your return time, and it will turn into a multi-experience pass. It's getting complicated here, so hang on. Which then allows you to redeem it anytime during the day at a variety of attractions. One, it will list the attractions there. Then listen to me. If this happens, if a ride is down and you've booked a lightning lane and it turns into a multi-pass, I want you to do that again. And I want you to repeat that process as much as possible and stack the multi-pass experiences. I promise if you do this, even if it doesn't make sense to you right now, you will thank me for this piece of advice later.
Okay. And if you are more of a visual learner, Jessica, I want to add that we actually had the insider tips, and I'll link that in the show notes video on YouTube where I put overlay of us actually doing this on the app so people can kind of see a little bit more how that works. But speaking of lightning lanes and grabbing the one that's down, or maybe yours goes down and you want to change it, don't cancel it. Like, this is a thing people do, is they'll cancel their lightning lane. And this is a huge no-no, in my opinion, because what you want to do instead is you want to modify it. So there's a button that says modify when you go in to manage it. And the reason you want to modify it is lightning lanes have a rule that you can only get another lightning lane either every, is it 90 or 120?
Something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact amount because it's always changing. It used to be different between Disneyland and World, but it's like every 90 or 120 minutes that you can get another lightning lane, or once you scan into your lightning lane, if that's sooner, then you can grab another lightning lane. So let's say you had one for It's a Small World and you decide, oh, it's just a walk-on. I don't want to use this lightning lane. You don't want to cancel it. You want to go modify it because let's say you got that one at 10, right? It's now 11. And what you're going to modify it to maybe isn't available till 2. But because you're just modifying it, you'll still be able to get another one at 11:30 or noon or whatever time it is. And you can always look to see when your next one's available. But if it's kind of confusing, I get it. It's hard to explain. Just don't cancel it. Modify it. That's what you need to know.
Right. You don't want to reset the clock. Like, modifying keeps your original time, canceling resets the clock.
Yeah.
Perfect. And that is rule number 5. So you now have all of our 5 thrill ride rules to maximize your Disneyland day. So this is exactly for thrill rides. And as you follow these rules, I bet you your day will be smoother, faster, and way more fun. And it's the perfect way to fill in, you got all the thrill rides, and then you can fill in the gaps with those kind of quintessential Disneyland favorites, like other things that aren't the thrill rides, favorites in Fantasyland, and things that don't have lightning lane, or ways to really skip the wait as much. But you'll be able to go on thrill rides multiple times and skip the wait. So real quick, those 5 rules are: start your day strong with early entry or rope drop. Rise of the Resistance plays by its own rules. Single rider is your best friend. Maximize lightning lane multipass. And do not cancel your lightning lane multipass. Now, if you loved this episode, we would love for you to share it with a friend who also needs this strategy for their next Disneyland trip. Better yet, invite them to come with you, and make sure you visit getawaytoday.com/castletalk to book your trip.